What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? This is Stardust here. Welcome back to another Marvel's Avengers video here on the YouTube channel. And today we are going over the TheFlackBalcon's Reddit recap of the Excelsior Now podcast that featured Alex K, who is, of course, the Gear Master. If you don't know what the Excelsior podcast is, it is hosted by my great friend Doomkiller HD and his co-host, another friend of mine, Bloody Reckless. Make sure to go and check that out. That will be down in the description below. What the TheFlackBalcons wrote here isn't word for word, but it is pretty much from when I watched it, well in context. So I am more than happy to read this off, and I'm sure that if Doom was watching this, he would agree that it's okay too. So, Nornstone of Lethal Will. Alex plans to rework this even further down the line. Patch 2.3's changes to it are short term, and there's a reason why it wasn't nerfed as much as damage buff and outright buffed in other aspects. Nornstone of Obsidian Spirit. Alex dislikes that he inherited this from the previous development team because it's boring, and its activation ability of giving you free health is outdated thanks to Cosmic Surge. Now, I agree with that completely. I haven't seen anyone ever use Nornstone of Obsidian Spirit in many of their builds, besides when there was like the Hulk tank build kind of phase going around, which, you know, I totally understand it. I totally understand why you would want to push for that, but as Alex says, Cosmic Surge kind of gets that job done. So, damage buff. Alex does not want perks like this that are both deemed required for high-level play by players and designed around in terms of endgame content development. Damage buff had too many things going for it in addition to a straight DPS increase. Additionally, if other perks were buffed up to be as powerful as damage buff, you would just combine them with damage buff and trivialize all encounters. Now, that's right. That's absolutely right. I mean, Marvel's Avengers has had this problem for the longest time, where in regards to kind of, variety, it has been stuck behind damage buff. So any changes to damage buff that in the long run may be better is a good thing, just as long as that's well communicated, which so far it actually has been, so I definitely got to give a thumbs up for that. So, a mega set gear. Alex was given this set to work on late in the development cycle, and he recognised right away that it was terrible, but he had limited time to make it better. What we have today is significantly better than what it would have been, a near complete copy of Hiveline's set gear, but it still has the problem of having a very niche utility. That said, he definitely does want to improve this set in the future, especially since he's a fan of the unique gear icons they use. I'm assuming that means the green style Super Adaptoid logos, which are really cool. This is kind of a side note, but it is kind of a shame that they don't cosmetically make your heroes glow green, but that would probably get annoying after a while, so I can understand that as well. But let me know what you guys think about that down in the comments. Battery damage. After patch 2.3, Alex is already working on adding more ways to apply status effect damage. He wants to do something different than using perks to accomplish that. You should be able to get more status effects on more attacks. Now, here's where things get a little bit controversial, and I want to put my opinion out there. Perks that give status on every melee attack, boring. Alex has a better solution for the problem this is meant to address. Now, I'm not sure what Alex believes when it comes to this, because in my opinion, I do believe that that's kind of false. I think that if you're going to have every single ranged attack apply status, then naturally having every melee attack do the same thing just kind of makes more sense, and I think that regardless whether you personally find it boring, I think balancing wise, that's definitely the way to go. Dual status perks on exotics? No. The epic quality hero set gear dubbed Universal Power is designed to have desirable perk combinations you can never get on higher quality gear, including dual status perks. The battery damage perk combinations you can get across the set are balanced by the stat limitation placed on the set being epic quality. Now, if you guys don't know what that means, essentially he's saying that there won't be exotic versions of those purples you get that say heavy combo finisher does cryo and light combo finisher does cosmic, for example, right? You know, you might see that with like Spider-Man or Black Panther. So, adjusting difficulty due to power level cap. Alex agrees that adding more challenging enemies for higher level players is absolutely necessary, especially when interesting perks are offered without enough viable environments to use them in. Simply increasing the challenge rating of certain activities, especially those with a significant range of power levels allowed to enter it, isn't a good solution, especially due to the challenge rating system being outdated. Archaic, I can't actually say that word, I apologize. The Elite Claw raid was a test to see how they could make more difficult content without making it a simple number increase. And I do think, outside of the bugs, they did a pretty good job of making the raid a little bit more difficult than other content. I played my first Destiny raid the other day, and in terms of difficulty, they are nowhere near close. Destiny it kicked my ass, but I understand what they were going for there. Blue overshielded enemies. Alex agrees that this is a lazy, boring mechanic and should be reworked if not outright removed / avoided. I absolutely agree with that. Thank you, Alex. So, players don't want to endlessly fight difficult enemies. Alex recognises this subset of players need something to do that's not just the custom harm room. I will say that, in my opinion, he did seem to tease towards a horde mode. Now, obviously he didn't say that, but you know, it sounds a lot like a horde mode, especially when I was listening to it with the live context, right? Doom also made a joke about that as well. So, fixed stats. These are primarily to prevent players from bad stat combination rolls instead of being a means of limiting players. Alex was traumatized by a piece he got back in the day that rolled proficiency, intensity, resilience. And I think that long-time Marvel's Avengers players can sympathize with that one for sure. Discordant set gear. If Resolve was on discordant set gear, it would invalidate Omega set gear even more, as that's one of the only saving graces Omega set gear has. It only having resilience for defensive stats also means builds centered around it require you to be skillful with your dodging. Additionally, adding Resolve to the stat pool would mean you could end up with Valor, Resolve, Resilience on a melee or ranged piece, which is probably undesirable in most cases. I mean, obviously for a Valor build, that's actually not too bad, but this is where we get to a bit of the juicy parts, ladies and gentlemen. So the reroll system, the one that has been begged for since game day number 1. This requires a lot of UI overhaul first and foremost, which Alex does not work on. A lot of the current UI system imposes limitations on what can be done when gear itself is modified. During testing, he tried to manually add might to a specific piece and accidentally ended up with 9,000 might. UI issues aside, he does want players to have more control over what they can get in terms of what's on their gear. However, if perk reroll came out today, everyone would just add damage buff and be done, which is part of the reason why it needed to be nerfed, and part of the reason why the gear system as a whole needs more work before reroll can be added. However, he did also mention that he absolutely hears players' feedback when it comes to wanting a reroll system, and that's fantastic because that is definitely something that I genuinely think would just improve kind of the longevity of players when they're waiting for content and stuff, if they just sort of want to try and get god rolls and that without the need of cheesing the time, you know, the time exploit, you know what I mean. Hypotheticals. If X hero was added, what would their gear look like? She-Hulk. Since she's a more agile Hulk, lean more into using enemies as weapons and chaining combos with them instead of playing with rocks like Hulk, definitely focusing on her grappling skills. Now, obviously, we know She-Hulk is quite a wrestler style, you know, fighter, so this makes a lot of sense to me. Obviously, we know that She-Hulk is going to be one of the next heroes in Marvel's Avengers, but obviously Alex couldn't outright say that, so I don't know if you want to take this as kind of officially that's what the angle is going to be for her gear, but it is pretty safe to assume that it would be, you know what I mean? But anyway, thank you guys for watching this video today. If you enjoyed, make sure to smack a like on this video. Make sure to go support Doom Killer HD and Bloody Reckless's Excelsior Now podcast. And I will see you guys later for a Gotham Knights video where there has been a leak talking about a potential playtest. You'll have to subscribe. I'll see you guys in a bit.